Otochin chitab kolenjin ketestai ak tetutiet nebo Kass Mashinani kimiten studio ak tondet architect Bernard Segecha, Assistant Honorary Secretary nebo Architectural Association of Kenya. Keng'ololi agobo sekta nebo teksetab korik missing ko kotinygei ak kasubetab ng'atutik ak arorutik tugul chemagat kisub en kasarta nekisuldoen teksetab korik alak tugul en emetab Kenya. Ako kakeng'alal agobo kibagenge notok boisiet nebo kibagenge nebo AAK. Ako Bernard, yekitestai ng'alalenyon ko kangeng'alalen agobo korik cheluldos, collapsing buildings en Nairobi en taonisiek alak. Ako most of the times yon kabit nyasutiet neu notok ko you find biik chemi frontline when they are really addressing that issue ko biik chebo NCA, the National Construction Authority, ak biik chebo of course chebo emergency services, kanyongalal, maybe governor. But in most cases we don't find the organization in the front line really addressing this matter. I don't know if that is something that you don't have the mandate to do that, or and maybe most of the times investigations after a building collapse, your members are rarely to blame for this disasters. But don't you think you should take a more active role in really addressing this issue about collapsing buildings? As much as otendai mulika mjengo ko yonga kopita disaster, you really take that opportunity. When such a thing happens, commit a lot of focus on that place. O mangago kwego ongolol jibik at that point. Chemuch kumange na goba mulika mjengo or something like that. Is there something you would consider or in future? First and foremost, you exist to do ABCD.
Bona Victor, and in terms of coming forward to speak about the built environment and the building collapsing, I can say here on many occasions we've had press conferences about a collapsed building. Lakini kinabo maana ingene yanka collapse na building kinabo maana ko that is the government takes over what needs to happen. And tamko meeting a multi-sectorial led agency ne meeting it's instituted and as professionals and that multi-sectorial agency which involves the ministry, public works, NCA, our regulator, Borax. They always at the forefront because ingenega ko happen nak ajal nuno ne ko magararan to pull apart. Iwe as a professionals tunaongea and then igan NCA kongololi antabanolin. That is why committee is a multi-sectorial body and which usually give National Building Inspectorate also is a key stakeholder in that. Ago yagage happen such kind of accidents. Committee we are in within because even in these multi-sectorial agencies there are architects, there are engineers, there are professionals in our body, and there are members in the body in AAK, and it is always good to have a one stand about because it involves now investigations, which is the police, some in public very sensitive information jeopardize and also the investigation. At first who really takes the blame
when such an
accident happens or the cause. And my perspective as a professional in the industry, what usually happens, about the costing, Ako get a client go like, this guy is expensive because once you guy run a building, as a professional, it is your mandate, the architect, engineer, quantity surveyor, the key people in the first phases involvement in terms of supervision.
Okay.
I go definitely your supervision, that is cost. You know, you're investing your time. Maybe a project is in, let's say, Turkana, Mandera, let's say Eldoret, Kisumu, and maybe you're based in Nairobi.
Yeah.
Or you really have to, the developer of the client has to foot that, you know.
Okay.
Because he has engaged to taken through from the design. You have to do the designs and then the construction phase until all the way the end when the project is completed. Then you earn handover. So mostly in between there, the developer or the client, much contestai the consultant. I don't know for what reasons. Maragero will expensive. Oh, expensive.
Flying this guy.
You know, yeah.
All the
And then
time.
so when that happens, as a professional, a project, you design on a project. As a professional, if the client doesn't need you anymore, there are procedures that you do. So that in case to disengage, so that in case anything happens, you're not held liable. In most cases, I'll give an example. If I'm the one engaged, and maybe a project is taking about 2 years, and I've been engaged by the client, and maybe I'll get client will paying this guy maybe 20,000 to go to site in Eldoret or somewhere to go and take it is becoming expensive. And if I'll have to write a letter to the client, first is to write to the NCA that I have formally disengaged from this project. You know, and you know once you activate that, of course, in case of anything, you're not going to be liable
responsible
because you followed. You write to the NCA that because my credentials for in a project it is with that the board when you do signboard,
the construction site,
the project. What is the project? Who is the client? Who is the
architect,
contractor? Who is the architect, engineer? All that. You know, when you get engaged and go now, then you withdraw. Mostly, that is when people taken shortcuts. This project aishi minimaliza, it's taking a lot, and mostly, but to avoid all that, when you involve the professionals in the industry, one as a client or as a developer, you remove the headache of getting worried about can my building collapse.
Are these following the regulations?
Yeah, because you'll study all those worries. The moon, as a professional, I have to protect my license.
Yes.
First, and making sure that all the regulations and what needs to happen inside, it's my responsibility, not the responsibility of the client.
Yeah.
Until the project finishes and then hand over, you know. So, the results of buildings the collapse, mara professionals che following sometimes come following all that processes, the guidelines and stuff, or you can get someone who will give you as an architect. Let me just say, my engagement with the client does not end by giving you a blueprint. It doesn't end there. This is a misconception that people have, that once you've engaged an architect, once he has given you the drawings, that is the end. It is not.
So
that is a wrong misconception. You know, it is the mandate of for this case, let me just use myself. It's my mandate to ensure that whatever we have agreed in terms of the brief that the client wants, you know, and we have designed and followed all that brief and satisfy your needs of what you wanted to invest in a project or in a building. Following all that until it is the end, you know. Ago, kinebo maana, and one of the key things why ko meet in studio raine ko kigojin information. You know, information dissemination is a very important thing in any field. Yeah. But to meet in the information, because you might not know on the processes to follow. Yeah. You know, but when you are informed, and it is a responsibility as professionals to go out there, reach out to the public, engage. And that is why in the start of the Mulika Mjengo, we had even a road show. Okay. You know, for the first time, we had a road show to engage across. We went across. We were going around in Nairobi, just to give publicity that the phrase was J Unamjengo. You know, J Unamjengo, and then now engaging, getting to know, giving people information that when you want to invest in construction, in the built environment, who are the key people you need to involve, and what does it take for that engagement? How much does it cost you? And in the long run, you'll find that it is very much cheaper to engage professionals to run whatever project in construction than cutting shortcuts, than taking shortcuts. Yeah. You know, because those shortcuts will end up, you'll end up losing everything. Like if a building collapses now, magid it has to be brought down.
You have to start from scratch.
Yes, because failure to that, by it collapsing, it involves the structural stability, you know. And if I go back again to what you had mentioned about chuma inik, again the chuma inik, ko ingen yaga go disengage or yaga matter much ko continue an investor or a client and a professional. Now the fundi college fundi
to even tumejenga
gigetej zanga igera nebo D16 malazima nginde D10 and I go D12 D12 these are the structural chuma ishek chugi takes it chugi chaben structure itself college now, because from the training background the fundi or Chitana Teje, he might not know the reason why the engineer specified that D10 or D16. He might not know. Yeah? Because behind that, there are a lot of mathematics that is done by the structural engineer. Kotomi arrive in this section, this structural reinforcement sizes. Come again. Koig now fundi ne taken over the site. And then what happens in the eventuality? Those are some of the things leading now to the building collapsing. It is very unfortunate when we have the professionals and when we have any other chita tool towards doing their investment in the construction industry.
That is very nice. There is one other aspect in the construction, and I don't know how legal or correct it is. Maybe apartments. Eventually, like 5 floors. Like in the second floor, third floor, is one. Yeah. Then they start renting the building out. Na uko juu ko halfway. Then at some point konyo rabini. Komach ko lian ko testa ko tekso komengisye biik. I don't know why or how you can tackle that. Is there something that is safe first and foremost?
First of all, it is very illegal.
Bernard kakilenjon ketokchingei State House en wakindo kenyoru ng'alalet nebo President William Ruto en kasarta nekilumdo tetutiet notok netinyegei ak biik chenotin ko refugees ako kimache kenyoru ng'alalet nebo President William Ruto sikeyok en studio ketestai ng'alalet ak tonenyon en studio inendet ko Bernard Segecha.
In a better way, we've come to appreciate refugees better, and we have come to understand that the problem is not the refugee, the problem could be elsewhere. And therefore, this became acutely clear to me in 2016, I think, when I went to Kakuma for a development tour, then as Deputy President. And in the process of the meeting, and I was with the Member of Parliament, I think that time, Daniel Nanok. In the process of the meeting, there was a presentation by one of the students from the local school. And in the presentation, this pupil was asking me as Deputy President whether I could facilitate them to be a refugee. And the reason is that the school in the refugee camp was better than the school that this pupil was attending. And it came to me as a sharp realization that there was a problem. And it is then that we began as Government of Kenya to rethink the relationship between refugees and the host communities. Because of the difference in terms of access to health, access to education, access to social services, the stark difference between the host communities and the refugees, there was an emerging tension between the host communities and the refugees. And therefore, it became necessary for us to rethink the way the host communities were relating to the refugees, and the need to harmonize that relationship by harmonizing the conditions that the refugees lived in with the conditions that the host communities were experiencing. And this plan is a response by the government of Kenya on how we can translate refugees and the host community's relationship into a win-win relationship, a one that benefits the host community and recognizes the host community's solidarity with the refugees, the host community's sharing of their space with the refugees, but also working in a manner that the social and other facilities that were available to the refugees also should be made available to the host communities. The plan's strategy to transform refugee camps into integrated settlements gives inclusion a new expression by promoting the creation of opportunity in a manner that intentionally benefits refugees and host communities in the same way. In so doing, it recognizes the indispensable role of host communities, a number of which have provided exemplary compassion, patiently and generously extended hospitality for over 35 years, and this plan therefore places the host communities at the heart of this refugee plan. Because minus the host communities, it becomes realistically impossible for us as a government to discharge our international obligation to refugees. This plan also sets out the government's strategy to guide reform to policy and regulatory frameworks, including the Refugee Act of 2021, the adoption of the Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework, the inclusion of refugees in county development plans, and their integration into public education, healthcare, and financial systems. It became obvious to us that containing refugees in camps, people who could, many of them could possibly have ideas, they are knowledgeable, people who could deploy their energy, expertise, and resource into the development of the country was not the best way to relate with the refugees. And therefore, it became necessary for us to rethink the place of refugees in our society and contextualize it with host communities. As I speak to you, more than 70,000 refugees are enrolled for universal health coverage under the Social Health Insurance Fund, while IDs for refugees are recognized by the Integrated Population Registration System. Partnerships such as International Finance Corporation, Kenya Commercial Bank, and Swedish International Development Agency guarantees funds are catalyzed their financial inclusion and engagement in entrepreneurship and job creation. And I must thank these agencies for making it possible for refugees to be part of our financial system, and to thank the private sector, including our banks, for participating. Equally important, there is undeniable progress with respect to key enablers of inclusion, which include the recognition of the refugees' IDs in SIM card registration and banking, the development of refugees' database, which is interoperable with government systems, and strengthening local governance through the elevation of Dadaab and Kakuma Kalolbeye camps as communities into special municipalities. And these we have worked with governors from that region, and I must commend them and the leadership in those areas for making it possible for us to work as government in a manner that carries on board the thoughts, the concerns of host communities and the county governments in those areas. The concerns that have been raised are legitimate because these are concerns that have been experienced.
Kolenjin itagat koranoto ko ngalalet nebo President William Ruto ko ngalali en State House ako kitesta keibun report noto en saisiek chemiten ta kobaten nguno amache kiwon ngalalet ne kitindoi en studio ak tondenyon noto architect Bernard Segecha ko ngalali ak inendet ako kotomo kebe State House ko ngalali akobo tekset netesetai en gorik chemenye biik. Nyoru first floor, second floor, third floor komi tenants, and then fourth floor, fifth floor komiten bundishek tesetai ak rongdo sementi kila kitu. I mean, how is that allowed to happen?
Bwana Korede, in fact, that is it is a very dangerous for someone komeny a floor ne tesetai construction embara. Miten iman imuj ko kutinda project a client ne mai a plan or nebo maybe 5 or 6 floors. Ago imuj ko tindo challenge in financing.
Yeah.
Ago in the long run, kuma go achieve their dream, their investment.
Yeah.
Kongot kutindo maybe the funds in the ground floor, first floor, and second. As it to ngote sendai third, fourth, and fifth. Ko miten namna lenyalu ke sipta. Magele it is totally illegal to do halfway and then continue speak. But miten a procedure lenyalu gisu. Kungunan kotko 5 floors. Awoga image ijab 3 floors. Kunyalu ijab complete. And then make sure that the finish of the building is in such a way that the people living are protected. Correct? And then now you terminate at a point where maybe in 3-4 years you can continue. So that means imuji ijabagi completed. And then when now that, and then you can collect collecting your rent until maybe for 4 years. So what you will need to do is to vacate the people.
So ngo tinginile 2026 January. Ama testa.
Ima testa.
You ensure that your tenants koga vacating by December.
Notice. You have to give them enough notice that and give them the reason, because ingen kungunon kulemenye danyo ne landlord ni ngo lenjin amay mandagaron there are a lot of challenges. So in that process your tenants ample time notice and then all of to vacate, and then yaga mandatule it start completing the structure construction a live construction site yaga itare of course it becomes now open and safe for tenants to continue. So it is totally illegal ke testai a developer in the construction because you are exposing them to health hazards. Because cement, your dust, you're also endangering them. Because in a construction site, it's a very engaging kind of work environment. You know, those, and you use those pulleys to go. It becomes very. So that is the procedure. Of course, with the same professionals that you did together in the initial, then you can continue. Yes. Or if you would want to maybe engage someone else, there is a formal way of disengaging with the professionals in through
NCA.
Not NCA. You can agree up. It doesn't have to be through the NCA. You know, if you would want as a client, it is just an open thing that now I want to continue with. You might give reasons
a new person.
to your person, to your consultants, that the reason ABC, or you might tell them, no, I want to continue with this, but before that, you have to ensure that you've paid them all their dues to the point at which you are parting. And then you have, as a consultant, I write to the client, exiting the project and handing over to the person who is maybe a colleague. Who is replacing me. That is the normal procedure in terms of maybe changing the professionals in the industry. Yes.
Bernard Segecha inendet ko Assistant Honorary Secretary nebo AAK, Architectural Association of Kenya. Kongoi missing, kagonget boroindo nebo saishek ako laban missing ako kitindoi logoiwekab emet chebwone en dakikoshek oeng chemiten tai. Kobaten kongoi missing en ngalalet nekaikonech en studio. I feel like makitar ine ngalalet ako that's why we can arrange teketestai kengalal in another forum very soon asikimuch ketestai kinetkei akobo ngalek chebo construction. Kobaten kongoi missing en boroindo nekekonech ako itagat kora.
Thank you.
All right.
Kongoi kabisa.
Chitab kolenjin noto ko Bernard Segecha, inendet ko architect ako inendet kora ko Assistant Honorary Secretary noto nebo AAK, Architectural Association of Kenya. Kongololwech akobo ngalek chebo teksoshek en Kass Mashinani. Cherube logoiwekab emet en koindo kou notok matiloitu testai iker Kass TV.